Hey, welcome back. Today is start of the weekend, and I got two things for the truck, two upgrades. I got a refrigerator. I got one of these 12-volt refrigerators, which has an actual compressor. It's something I've been wanting for a while to go camping. I do carry like ice cooler. I had one of those like padded bag type, which I got. It was like a $70 cooler I won at a raffle. It worked pretty well for overnight. Into the second day, it was a little iffy. Obviously, it's a cooler. After that, I resurrected this Coolatron. This is from like the early 2000s. It's probably 20 years old. It's 12 volt. It's got a little fan in it. It works like a reverse thermocouple. You apply power to it one way, and it gets cold on one side, hot on the other, and you can reverse polarity, and it'll actually heat up inside the cooler to keep it warm. It's got a little fan on the outside for the outer fins. It worked pretty good in the heat of the desert. It kept the drinks at around upper 50-degree range when it's 100 outside, so that's pretty good. I would say it was real nice. It was not hot like having a sparkling water or a beer. It was manageable. It was better than, not having it at all. But the issue with that is I can't haul food. I did haul eggs in it, which was a little iffy. But I want to take like mayo, make tuna salad, or I want to take cheese and ham and other things that are perishable, like milk. The boys like having cereal. I wouldn't mind taking a carton of milk out there. So this was not sufficient. I did want, one of those fancy coolers, but I ain't got 15 or 1200 bucks to spend on one, like the real off-road stuff. This one is off of Amazon. It's kind of a no brand. I paid, I think it was $235 shipped. It was on sale. It was had a $20 coupon plus a $30 thing on Amazon Prime Day or something like that. I finally bit the bullet. It runs on 12 or 24. I'm obviously running it on 12. I've had it running all night. I started it up yesterday afternoon or so, and just to see how much power consumption is. I did have it on the power supply at first. So on my bench power supply, the unit was pulling 2 amps when the pump's running, and 1.5 amps when it was on eco mode. That actually slows down the compressor, I guess. This has been running on eco mode. Yeah, I'm running it on eco mode. The controls are super simple. Like there's eco and there's high. I'm keeping it on eco. The other one is battery protection. So I set it to the lowest setting. The instructions aren't very good. I'm assuming the lowest battery protection means it's gonna drain my batteries to the lowest voltage, which I want to get as much as I can. When I'm parked, I don't want the fridge to shut off. I don't care about saving the batteries. I run the cheap Costco Marine 27 series deep cycle batteries at $90 a pop. I don't care if I destroy them. I run 2 on top of my regular engine battery, and they are what they are. They're consumable. There's one of them right here, and the other one is on the other side of the truck. I can also reconfigure those to series, and I can weld off of them. I do carry a set of welding cables, like a and a stick arc welder, a rod holder clamp and things. So in an emergency, I could put down a bead on something if I need to, but I'm not planning on welding regularly with it. I did do a test run with it. It works pretty good. Works good enough. Let's keep it at that. So I'm pretty stoked with this. Overnight, for I would say, you know, it's been probably 18 hours of runtime, and I started out at 12.3 volts in the batteries. So right now I'm at 12.1. That's the one on the right side is the camp batteries. The 12.5 is the truck battery, 2 buses. So I've only lost 0.2 volts overnight. So this thing is very impressive on the power consumption. Although it's been parked indoors, the temperature here was in the about 85 yesterday, and it cooled down to 76 in here by morning. So it's pretty good. I'm gonna let it run as long as I can. So I made some mods to the refrigerator. Turns out the cable that's included with it wasn't very good. There was a lot of power loss through it, and it was I didn't want to cut it, so I made this little dongle thing. I normally use Anderson connectors, which look like this, and I made an adapter for a cigarette lighter plug, but the original cord is really thin. It's getting a voltage drop. Also, while I was in there, I added a little voltmeter on front of the fridge, and I added a separate pigtail so I can plug it into my Anderson cord. I have these cords all over. I got a bunch on the different batteries and in the front off the truck battery. I have them in all my other cars for other things that I do. So it's still universal. I'm on my vehicles, and I still have the original cord. So if I do want to put it somewhere, I can still use this cord. And it also this fridge came with a power supply. So you can plug it into the wall socket, and you can run it in like a hotel room, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so that was the one mod I did to it, or to the gauge and the little wire just coming out the end. So now if I'm just on the side of the truck, I can see how much there's in the batteries, what the voltage is. I also have a voltmeter up in the tent, which is a USB charger. So if I'm camping at night, I can see what the battery status is, plus the gauge, the green one that you saw in the front there. So on the other project is today, I did get another alternator. I still run the stock alternator in the truck, which is 70 amps, and it's not quite enough. It does the job. It does do the job, but I noticed on the really super hot desert days when I'm roaming the desert and it's 100 something, if I run the AC, I don't have quite enough, as much as I would want, to charge the batteries if I was camping or using them for other things. Generally in the heat of summer, I don't drain them because I only run the cooler. This little cooler pulls quite a bit. It actually pulls 4 amps. So it drains the batteries in about 24 hours, maybe 30 hours or something. So it puts a dent into them, and in the heat of the day, that stock alternator just can't keep up. Trying to pull the AC on the truck is just not enough. I watch the voltage drop even at fast idle, or at around 2000 RPM. I'm only barely getting 13.1 volts out of the system trying to charge the batteries. So I know that alternator is at its limits in the heat. I only generally drain the batteries fully in the winter time because I run a space heater off of them. overnight in the tent, and that's when I really need the charging. So when I, pack up camp in the morning after running the heater, I usually transition to another spot to camp. I don't generally camp in one place for 2 nights. And the theory is to charge the batteries back up by the time I reach the next campsite, which was okay because it was about 5 hours, 5.5 hours at the most to recharge the batteries while driving. And that's not bad, because usually I'll do like somewhere around that, or almost 7, sometimes 8 hours of putzing around on the trails during the day. So the charge time was okay, but it's just time to bite the bullet and get it. I did get one. I got the cheaper version of it. Originally, I wanted a 240 amp alternator. It was designed for audio competition. They claimed it was putting out like 200 amps at like 1100 RPM or something like that. I think it's a little overkill. The price was overkill for me. The price was over $400. So it was like, okay, I really don't need that much more. And with 240 amps, I'm probably gonna melt something. I don't want to rewire the whole truck to handle that much current. And I really don't need it. Charging the batteries in 2 hours versus 3 hours doesn't change much in the grand scheme of things. So I ended up getting one off of Amazon. I don't know, it's from LA Trickle. It was shipped from LA, actually. I don't know if it's like Chinese parts assembled here or what it is. I haven't done the research. This one is a 140 amp, which is double of the stock alternator. So this will get me what I want. This one also has a smaller pulley, so I'm guessing it's going to charge a little more at idle. This particular one, I see it's got 2 fans inside, one in the front, one in the back, which is kind of cool. So I'm gonna compare them when I pull the other one out. I'm gonna do it here pretty quick. All right, so the alternator's out. Here's the old one. This body here looks a little beefier than the original. It actually is. You can tell this sticks out a little bit. So the newer alternator is a tad bit deeper and just beefier altogether. So it is not, it's not a remanufactured, because the casting is different. So they actually made a whole new one when they did this. You can see the difference in the pulley. Huge difference. I'm actually going to measure it just real quick. So this one here is 39 millimeter versus 47. So it's about 18%, 19% gonna be faster on the RPM, which is a big difference. 19%, that's pretty huge. So that's at 1000 RPM times 1.19. So that's from, if I were to be idling at 1000, this would put me at a simulated 1190 RPM. So that's a huge difference. That little pulley is gonna make the difference at idle, definitely. All right, we'll go and install this guy. Another thing I gotta do, I gotta put a bigger wire from the alternator to the battery. The stock wire is pretty cheese ball. That may be where I was losing half my power to begin with. The original alternator is a remanufactured. It is a Toyota. It's a Denso. It's going under the seat. This one I'm gonna just take with me as part of the spares. It's something I can swap on the side of the trail, so be good redundancy. All right, I made the new jumper. This is the new jumper piece. This one is a 6 gauge. It's not replacing the original one, I'm just adding on to it. And there's the new alternator is installed. So I just gotta hook this guy up, clean the battery terminal, it was getting a little bad, and then fire it up, maybe run a test. Alright, so the alternator's in, it's running. Initially saw about 101 amp out of it. I turned everything on, but all my batteries are fully charged, so I can't generate enough of a load to get it up to 140. I don't know if it'll do 140. I was pulling 90 amps on the inverter, and it wasn't going up quite that high. It's possible just the rear batteries are absorbing it, and but it's not coming out for the 150 bucks I paid for it. It's a huge improvement, so I'm leaving it in there. So here's kind of the yeah, it's roughly 50 amps at idle, which is pretty good. It's better than what I had. I had probably around 30 amps at idle with the old alternator. So I'm pretty happy. It's kind of stabilized at 49. So I'm gonna leave it and call it a day. I would have to set up a lot of meters because I have a lot of points on this truck, so there's no clear way of measuring how much I'm pulling because it's not a single source. There's 3 batteries and they're all being pulled, sourced independently. So there's not one cable that's the magic number on the draw. It's all really equally distributed. I'm not gonna go through the measurements or the math, or it is what it is. I'm happy with it. Gonna call this one done. All right, until next time, and thanks for watching.